Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We're gonna call the village board meeting for July 15th to order. Roll call would be Nyla Fry. Here. Trisha Brown.
I would note that she's in attendance virtually. Trisha, if you can come off camera and mute. I know she was dealing with a couple Wi-Fi issues.
I'll just move on to the next. Sam Kaufman.
Here.
Kristen Runge.
Here.
Aaron Moran. Here. Joe Zisselsberger.
Here.
Robert McPherson.
Here. And to confirm Trisha's participation.
I'm here, guys. Can you hear me now? I'm trying to get my camera on.
Yes, we can.
I'm hitting start video. I don't know, Jared, if it's something on that end. There we go.
While she works on her video, we can proceed forward. We need to, in the absence of Kristen Runge, President Runge, we need to select a chairperson for the meeting. So I would take a motion for a chairperson.
I move that Robert McPherson be the chairperson for tonight.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Trisha?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was part of the yeses. I'm fine.
So motion carries.
Todd, I can't get the video. I'm clicking on video and it's not working. I don't know if I need to do something different. I had done an allow thing.
Do you have anything, Jared? Do you have an alternative device, Trisha?
Yeah, I can use my phone. I can try to use my phone. See if that works.
I would suggest going phone.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll be back in a minute.
We'll watch for you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
While she gets set up, confirmation of open meeting compliance.
I can comply that the draft agenda was published in the Waunakee Tribune on 7/12. The final agenda was posted in all 3 official posting locations on 7/11. And the final agenda and packet were made available online on 7/10. For all those in attendance, please be sure you've signed in on our sign-in sheet and with your name, address, and municipality for accurate record keeping. And those interested in public comment or public hearing, please be sure you hand me the slip prior to that agenda item.
Okay, with that, we'll move into public comment. Are there any public comments?
We do. We have a few. The first one I received by email from Liz Morez at 780 Westbridge Trail. She provided written comment regarding the condition of Hillenbrand Road for you, for the record. The next one would be George Kroll at 788 Westbridge Trail. You can come on up to the podium and then just make sure the green button is turned on.
Just a reminder to all speakers, you have 3 minutes and Carla will alert you when your time is up.
Okay, the green button's on. Am I ready? I'm George Kroll. I've been here 7 years over at 788 Westbridge Trail. And I'm a retired Madison police detective and police officer trained at the Northwest Traffic Institute in Chicago, one of the premier traffic institutes in the United States of America. I came to speak tonight with respect to what's going on Hillenbrand Road. It's a very dangerous situation. And my concern is that we've got 3 entities involved here. We got Westport, we've got Town of Springfield, and of course, Waunakee, which is not really involved, although I'm told that Waunakee went out there and filled some potholes, which kind of makes you liable. Now, the liability issue is what I'm concerned about. It's going to cost anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 to put in 2/10 of a blacktop road there. And as I understand it, Springfield and Westport are willing to cede that property to Waunakee. That road offers the potential for serious traffic accidents. Maybe not so much now in the summer, but certainly when it starts icing up, and of course, all the traffic for the next 6 months is going down that road from Westport, Meadowwood, and now Golden Pond. It behooves us to spend the $60,000 for safety's sake and to not perhaps have a bad accident there where people start suing the city or the village or Westport or Springfield as a result of them not taking appropriate action on that road. I mean, right now, people are going right down the middle of the road and there's a hill there, and sometimes you come up in the middle of the road over the hill and there's a car coming at you. I've seen a couple very swervy issues there. I've staked that place out for a number of weeks, just to, especially since they closed down the road into Waunakee. That now you have to go around one way or another to get into Waunakee. Nonetheless, with all the traffic that's now coming from Golden Pond as well as Westbridge and then Meadowwood, we're talking 700 units of land producing probably $8-9 million in property tax a year, and we can't afford $60,000 or $50,000 to put in 2/10 of a road. Something should be done, and it should be done swiftly. Any questions or observations?
We can't engage in back and forth during public
Okay.
comment, but thank you for your comment.
Next is Elliot Cosmical, 800 Turnberry. Sorry.
Green still on. Good evening. I'm Elliot Kosmicki. I live at 800 Turnberry Drive in Waunakee. I'm here to voice my support for the proposed amendment to the Business Park General Development Plan on behalf of Northridge Church. I want to thank you for taking it up. I know we've talked to a few of you at the Plan Commission as well. My family and I have lived in Waunakee for 8 years. We've been attending Northridge Church for 7 of those. And there are really few organizations in Waunakee that have had, I think that have impacted Waunakee the way Northridge Church has. And there's going to be a few people, I think, that speak to some of those. You're going to hear about things like how Northridge donates hundreds of backpacks to local kids every single year. About our what we call Love Week, where we have people from the church passing out free coffee and donuts to very kind of suspect drivers driving around the roundabout. Or passing out free gas cards to people at the gas pump. Those are some things that people in Waunakee see about Northridge, but there's a few things that I wanted to mention that people don't see. Northridge is a place of refuge and support for single moms and dads. It's a place where kids come on Sunday nights to have some fun and some peace. And for some of them, it's the only place that they can come without judgment. For my family and myself, Northridge has been a place of support, guidance, and friendship through some very difficult times. That has made our family stronger so we can serve the community because of that. And the ripple effect that Northridge has had on the Waunakee community is immeasurable. So you may know that Northridge is currently in a temporary location in the Village Center gym. With that new building and space, it provides the impact that they can have on this community can only grow. So beyond all the technicalities I know you have to think about for zoning, I know that the Plan Commission as well as the Village Board has a goal of preserving our community's character and quality. And with your approval of that amendment tonight, you'll take a step towards that goal by helping keep Northridge in Waunakee where it belongs. Thanks.
Thank you, Elliot.
I see Attorney Kleinmeyer does have his hand raised. Brian?
Yeah, I was just going to say we do have 2 public hearings tonight. Those are statutory public hearings. And so my recommendation would be, to the extent that anyone has comments on any of the public hearing items, those comments should wait until the public hearing and not be made during public comment, because when they are made during the public hearing, they are part of the official record on that zoning item.
So then there's 3 more for Northridge Church, I believe. So we'll hold off until public hearing.
Okay,
So,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry,
Yep.
Edge Slappy at 790 Westbridge Trail, Waunakee.
May I give you a map? I wanted to talk about Westbridge Trail also. I live at, as she said, 790 Westbridge Trail. If you look at that map, in the upper left area, you'll see a little bit of highlight yellow. That's the 2/10 of that road, which is 7/10 long. That is bad. The 5/10 of that road, it was fixed when West Bridge was built, West Bridge subdivision. So it's only 2/10 of a mile. And it's been repatched and repatched many, many times. I'm gonna try not to say anything that George already said. We've talked to the townships multiple times. And one in particular, that every year when I talk to him, he says, I have no money in the budget. And I say, well, you never put any money in the budget. You're never gonna be able to do it. And I realize that everybody's short of money. They got more places to spend it than they have. But the people that use that road, that 7/10 of a mile, 2/10 that are bad, we're Waunakee taxpayers. We're not Westport or Springfield, like, because they say they don't want to pay for that road because their taxpayers don't drive on that road, even though they own some of it. There's approximately between Meadowbrook and Westbridge and Golden Ponds, there's roughly on the low end, 600 homes. I'm going to use the same thing that George talked about. Average taxpayers paying a minimum of 10,000 in property tax, $6 million tax revenue coming out of those subdivisions. And cars, 600 homes, 2 cars per home, 1,200 cars in those neighborhoods. Even if 10% of the people that use Hillenbrand Road to go west, because it saves time, it saves gas, that's 120 vehicles going one way, 240 if they come back the same way. So there's a lot of traffic on it. There was some semis going down the road, but since we talked to some of the townships, someone put up a weight limit sign that's keeping the semis off the road, which is good because that road cannot handle that heavy traffic. So all I'm asking is that you look into this. We're Waunakee taxpayers asking for some help on that road. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
I have no other comment cards for the public comment.
Any comments from online?
Just to give a second for anyone online to click raise hand, or if you're participating by phone, *6 will raise hand. And Trisha's back with us. Way to go. No hands.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comment. Before we move on really quick, Renee, can I inconvenience you for 1 second just to clarify on the property taxes, just really fast, the breakout on that one, because the village doesn't receive all the taxes.
Right. I believe the village gets about 29% of the tax bill. So on a $10,000 bill, 2,900 would come to the village.
Thank you.
And Robert, if I could, I can offer one clarification, at least and Bill Frederick, the Public Works Director, is here. He's welcome to pop up to the mic if he's able, but I did confirm that village crews have not made patches to the roadways south of the village boundary. And if there's any, it might be other crews, county, town, or others, but Bill confirmed for me that the village crews did not make patching repairs. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's an important clarification.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were all informed, even though it's not on the agenda tonight. Okay, moving into the consent agenda. Is there any item that anyone would like removed from the consent agenda?
2, 3, and 4.
I'll move approval of the remainder of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by trustee Kaufman, second by trustee Moran. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Abstaining? Okay. With that, we will go straight into item number 2.
All right, item number 2 is the minutes. I just wanted to clarify on there that I believe it's number 4 under reports and announcements, just as reported by, it was actually reported by Kristen. So with that adjustment, I will move approval.
Thank you.
And I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Sorry, I got to give a second for the online people. I apologize. I'm not trying to speed through it. All opposed? Abstaining? Okay, and then you said 2, 4, and 7?
2, 3, and 4.
3 and 4, I'm sorry.
Yep.
3.
For number 3, it's a amplified music permit for the Monterey Lane Block Party. Fantastic concept. I wish that we had these going on all the time. But they're asking for 7:30 PM to 8:30 PM. I suspect since it says live band with speakers, they probably need some setup time and things before. So I would like to move approval of that with a start time of 6 PM instead of 7:30 PM.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining. Okay, and then item number 4.
Last one was the amplified music permit for One Community Bank. Talked to Chris today, and the reason that they're asking for 10 AM to 11 PM is because we don't know the time of that game yet. So what I'd like to do is move approval of the permit with the time to start not more than 2 hours before game time or 10 AM, whichever is later, and to end not more than 1 hour after the end of the game or 11 PM, whichever is earlier.
Second.
I'll give that one to Sam. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Okay. With that, we are done with the consent agenda. We will move into reports and announcements. Begin with the Plan Commission. And I don't know who the rep for that is tonight. I guess it's Joe.
I can do it. We had basically 3 items at the Plan Commission. We approved outdoor seating at a new restaurant, El Cuate. We held off on recommending an amendment to section 133.11 of the village ordinances to change the maximum allowable size of an accessory building. We wanted that to align with a change for clarification in the ADU code. So that'll come back. And the last one was we recommended amending the submittal requirements for Plan Commission to the village board. That should come here in August.
Thank you, Joe. Library board, that'd be Sam.
We are receiving more funding from the county this year than we have in the past, over $100,000 more, because now that COVID's over, it's taking into account the new, all the use we're having in that wonderful facility now that the pandemic has ended. We reviewed some of the landscaping documents, which we'll be hearing more about that later come budget time, some small projects that'll be done there. And we also increased the starting wage for much of our part-time staff to be competitive with other libraries in the area.
Okay, thank you. Sustainable Waunakee Ad Hoc Committee.
I can take
Committee
that
did
one.
not meet this month.
Oh, last month.
So
But we haven't met since the last time they would have met, I don't believe.
yeah, but we canceled the meeting for this month.
Yeah. For last month, we received a presentation from Kathy Kuntz from the Dane County Office of Energy and Climate Change, discussed, tweaked, and recommended a request for proposals for consultant services. That's business item number 5 tonight. And then we discussed a whole pile of other things, the web page, warming and cooling centers in the village, so info sharing opportunities like farmers market, Waunafest, recycling events, electronics recycling, the shred event, sustainability projects, and the public engagement and volunteers to make those happen. Let's see, the addition of a school district liaison to the committee and potential presenters for future meetings. So lots of stuff going on there, even though we didn't have a meeting this month.
I will say that I've noticed the cooling centers are being posted on our social media.
Yes,
So that's
definitely a good thing.
good. Yeah, it is a very good thing. Next committee is Waunakee Area Fire District, which I'll be handling. There was not a lot of news from that. We do have a new chair, is John Kucha, the town of Westport, and Nyla Fry is continuing as the vice chair. We are also looking to change the time and date of the meeting. That one should be finalized soon. I was out of town, so I haven't seen the email stuff. Nyla, do you know the new time?
The next meeting is the last Monday, and then after that, it'll be the
Fourth Monday?
fourth Monday,
Yeah.
yes.
So the biggest change is we're moving to the fourth Monday, not the last Monday, since that was causing problems. Okay, the next is Waunakee Committee.
Yeah, thank you. So Waunakee was held successfully despite the fact that we had a threat of rain all day. We kept a really close eye on the forecast, and we were in contact with several different meteorologists, one of the TV station meteorologists, plus the Sullivan Weather Station for the National Weather Service. We did push the time from 9:45 to 9:30 so that we could skirt a storm that was predicted to come in at 10:15, and that storm was very courteous and arrived after the fireworks were done by about 15 minutes. We believe we had a record crowd again this year, but counts are still out, and we're meeting on this Wednesday, the 17th, to go over some of the final numbers for it. In addition to that, we had a flyover by the National Guard, and typically we would have had a Black Hawk helicopter landing and really strong representation from our military, but the weather just wouldn't cooperate, and the Black Hawk circled the field twice and was unable to land safely. We added quite a few number of children's activities, and they were, as always, packed, and everybody appeared to have a good time. So until next 4th of July.
Congratulations to the committee on another successful event. Parks and Rec did not meet. Public Works, Nyla.
Public Works met, and the three of the items on the consent agenda that were approved is what we talked about. One was to approve the task order number 2405 for 2024 construction-related service for Phase 1 of Kilkenny West. The second was approve amendment number 1 to Strand Order task number 2204 for construction-related services for the Woodland Drive Path project. And the third was to approve the low bid for Woodland Drive Path installation. Thank you.
Thank you. Joint Plan Commission. They did not meet this month, you're correct. Other committees, boards, and commissions.
The Community Development Authority met. Yeah, is it all right if I go?
You can go.
Yeah. Community Development Authority met last Wednesday, and we updated some of the application materials for the Waunakee Housing Betterment Fund. After going through our first round, there were some tweaks we needed to make that will facilitate more complete applications from our applicants, plus facilitate quicker disbursement of money. We also heard heard presentations from Madison Area Community Land Trust and Built, which is the Chequamegon Bay area community land trust that has been newly formed, and discussed the potential of forming a community land trust at some point in the future.
Thank you. Erin, I think you were going to talk about Create Waunakee.
Yeah, we didn't meet this month, but Art on Main kicked off. The kickoff party was last Thursday. So it was great to have, we have 10 tables. Tables designed by local artists that were debuted for the summer. They'll be auctioned off at Oktoberfest on Sunday of that, and that raises funds for Creative Economy and the Enders Manufacturing Fund. Enders Manufacturing fabricates the tables, and then artists are picked, and they're beautiful. They'll be around Main Street and downtown all summer, and it's an awesome display of talent. Create Waunakee Inc. Create Waunakee are hosting an artisan table at the farmers market every week this summer, which is now at Reeve Park. That's Reeve Park, which provides a low cost free opportunity for local makers to sell their creations.
Thank you, Erin. Joe, I think you were going to jump in on police.
Police committee, yep. Basically three things. We're getting prepared for the PD expansion to go to bid later this quarter. PD staffing has improved. They're still currently down one officer. And nothing else remarkable, I guess, is the third item.
All right, I have two items. One is the EMS committee did meet. We have made a change of IT services. They're in the transition period for that. The new services are much cheaper than the old ones and more efficient. So we're working through that process. The study is continuing with Middleton. There wasn't much movement between last month and this month. We're still waiting them to reach out to have conversations with us, despite the fact that they started early. And then the ambulances, I believe one is back in service, one is still awaiting lights, so they're still using one of the county ambulances. But they're close to getting done with the two on there. The other item was the village, the zoning board of appeals did have a one item that they met on at the end of June, was for a variance for the keeping of chickens within G1 zone for the specific applicant was Art House Preschool in downtown. Because of the way that they're bordered on the sides by streets, the variance was granted so that they could have the coop on the side that faces the alley, if you're aware of the property location. So we were able to come to a resolution with that. Are there any other committees that I did not cover? Okay. Are there any other announcements not related to a committee from any board members? All right.
I'd like to pass on greetings to everybody from the Community Development Society meeting in Omaha, Nebraska. And tomorrow we'll be presenting some material on collaborations between school districts and communities, of which Waunakee is going to be featured as one of 3. So.
Excellent. Okay, with that, we will move into what I believe many people are here for, the public hearing. Item number 1, public hearing and discussion action on a request by Northridge Church to amend the existing Waunakee Business Park General Development Plan to allow institutional uses as a conditional use in Phase 2A. And I will look to staff to begin this.
So Northridge Church is in their due diligence phase of purchasing 1071 Unique Drive, which is in Phase 2A of the business park. The business park is split into Phase 2A and 2B in their GDP. 2B is roughly defined as what we now consider TID 10. So it's a little bit north of this property. Phase 2A does not include institutional uses as either permitted or conditional use, but Phase 2B does allow churches as a conditional use, specifically through a reference to conditional uses in O1, O2, and O3 office districts. So they've submitted site plans that would affect the layout to the parking lot, but not so much to the building. The area had been in a TID, which has since been closed, so we're not worried about taking a parcel off of the tax rolls in an active TID. There's no risk of that at this time. So the question is whether there's sufficient reason to allow such a use change in Phase 2A of the business park. This was passed unanimously by Plan Commission at a previous meeting. And the applicant is here and would like to give a presentation before the public hearing.
Okay. Would the applicant please step up and for the presentation before public hearing? Well, they'll be able to speak when we open the public hearing, so after your presentation. And if you could state your name, please.
Yeah. So my name is Brent. I'm the lead pastor at Northridge Church. I also live at 1303 Centennial Parkway. So in between Centennial Park and Rip Park. We've been enjoying watching that playscape getting going over there. So thank you for your time. So I just wanted to share a couple of things real quick. Northridge Church started about 13 years ago. My wife and I moved here to start the new church. And when we got here, a lot of churches start by just starting Sunday morning worship services. But we chose not to do that. We chose to just start getting involved in all the different things that were already happening in the community. So the first thing we served in is WandaFest. Then we started doing food drives for the food pantry. We got involved in Waunakee Neighborhood Connection. And that was how we started. We actually didn't start with Sunday morning services. And the reason I bring that up is because that is what we have continued through the life of our church. We are here for the community. We're in the community, and we love this community and want to serve this community. So you might be wondering, though, we're here to talk about a building, right? Because it might be wonderful to hear what we do, but you want to hear about the building. So for the last 7 years, we've been looking at all the buildings in Waunakee, literally just about any building that exists. And this building that we've been looking at and under contract for, as Lauren said, we have been looking at that for quite some time. In fact, 3 years ago, this building came up for sale. And we had no option to go after it because our financing was not in place for that. And so after that, we knew we needed to do a lot of work. And so we did a ton of work. You see the room packed here and beyond the room. These people are a big part of that. But we did a lot of work and our financing is now very much in place. In fact, we're completely approved, ready to go with all of that to purchase the building. But you might wonder why this building. So this building came up for sale just last year. And we knew even when we couldn't go after it, that it was perfect for us. If you see the site, and this is why we kind of show this, you can see there's obviously some amazing businesses around us. But what we also love is that there's a new and growing residential housing portion right on adjacent to it. And so it's kind of the best of both worlds. We have neighbors that are businesses and neighbors that are families, housing and all that. And so it's a perfect site for that. The other thing is that we have already been working with a lot of partners. We have here with me tonight actually is Kevin from JSD Engineering. We've been working with OPN Architects and also Vogel for construction to work on a site plan. And you might kind of just I want to hit a couple of things. If you want to go to the next couple of things here. We mentioned that we're going to make not a lot of changes to the building, and that's true. You can kind of see the existing parking lot. What our proposal is for the site plan is to add a few more parking spaces to take it from 51 to 92. I think that goes into the next two slides. The first one shows existing. This is the parking lot that exists there now. And then this is the proposed expansion to that actual building. So we wouldn't be changing basically anything about the outside facade of the building. The building looks phenomenal. And as I said, we've already locked the financing in for all of this project, this whole thing. We've kind of worked through the numbers. Vogel's given us all the numbers for this. Now, the inside of the building, what you might wonder is, a lot of people have had this question is, why this type of building for a church, right? Because this building does not look like a church building, a traditional church building. And what I would say is, how does this work? And I would say it works perfect for our type of church. We actually had OPN Architects design a building for us before this came for sale and design the perfect building for us. And what happened was, the building that this is, it essentially looks very, very, very similar. The one that we designed was 23,000 square feet. This one is just under 20,000 square feet. The worship center that we designed is exactly the same size as the one that would be in this building. And I think we have another slide that kind of shows how we've laid this out. So the purple would be the worship space. The yellow would be a lobby space. The blue is student and kids and youth and teen areas. And then the orange would be office and conference room. And then the gray are support areas, storage, bathrooms, things like that. So it'd be changing the inside of the building significantly, but not the outside. And then the last thing I wanted to just say is, we're very, very excited about this building. We have a few renderings that have been put together. I wanted to show this from OPN, Vogel, and JSD. And you can kind of see this building is going to look essentially the same. Probably the biggest difference, other than the parking, is that we are proposing to cut doors in the middle of the building so that we can get into the lobby so that the flow is correct, if that makes sense. Right now, there's just a small set of doors on that one side, if you can see that. That's the only set of doors minus one door on the back. And so we're proposing adding a few doors so that we can get people in and out safely. And of course, we're talking fire code and things like that. I think there's a couple of other renderings. You can kind of see that we put obviously something on the sign, maybe something on the wall, but otherwise the building is going to pretty much remain unchanged from that standpoint. And there's the entrance, and there might be one more. There's your night view. If you wanted to know how it was going to look at night, there it is. So all I would say is, we're very, very excited about this building. So we want you to just, we appreciate your consideration of this. Thank you for your time and just thinking through this in this proposal to change this GDP amendment. So appreciate it. And I do have somebody here from JSD if you want to ask questions about the more technical aspects. but I'm certainly here and I'll take any questions. So I don't know if I need to answer questions at this point.
No, we'll save our questions for after the public comment.
Thank you.
Yep. With that, we'll open the public hearing, and I know that we have at least 3 comments, and then when we get through those who have submitted, there's time if you decide you want to talk, you can get up, even if you haven't submitted a sheet.
And as a reminder, those who are attending by Zoom, you're welcome to click raise hand and we'll give you the opportunity to participate.
Jamie Jimenez at 716 Westbridge Trail.
Hi, I'm Jamie Jimenez, 716 Westbridge Trail. She just said that, but so when I walk into Northridge, it feels like home. I feel nurtured and supported. Especially when life gets hard, Northridge is always willing to be my support system. It is not only our community, but it is also our family. When we first moved here 7 years ago and started going to Northridge, not only did we feel like we had found our home, but it helped us get connected to the larger Waunakee community, as Northridge is very intentional about being out in the community, serving and helping wherever is needed. Northridge is also very intentional about serving our student population. I have been involved with this group for several years. Currently, I am a youth group leader to middle school girls, and we have had upwards of 70 adults and students in the Village Center on Sunday nights. These are teens just not from Northridge, but from the community at large. Having our own building and opening our doors to this group specifically outside of Sunday mornings, especially to have a place to build supportive relationships, friendships, have fun, and learn, is so critical in this stage of life. In closing, as I said, a new building would help us better serve our Northridge community as well as the larger Waunakee community much more easily and at a higher capacity. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Jamie. Next comment.
Jim Hankowitz, 800 Victor Lane, Waunakee.
Hi, my name is Jim Hankwitz. I live in the village of Waunakee at 800 Victor Lane. I've lived in Waunakee for 8 years, and I'm here today to express my support regarding the rezoning proposal for Northridge Church at the 1071 Unique Drive. I've been a member of Northridge Church for 7 years and have served on several different committees, and am currently a member of the Northridge Advisory Board. Northridge Church has a core purpose that is to live full of life, and through that purpose strives to serve the community generously and intentionally. A few examples of how Northridge Church has reached the Waunakee community this past year include gathering backpacks and donations for kids in need, planning random acts of kindness during Love Week, and helping to support Teacher Appreciation Week. A personal experience that highlights the importance of Northridge Church in the community is the Northridge groups called the Ridge and 56ers. My 2 sons have both been actively involved and truly value the fellowship and connections they're able to make with each other and the youth leaders. Another opportunity that my sons have both participated in is called Never the Same Camp. Never the Same Camp is a week-long experience for middle and high school students to network with support from their local church. This past June, Northridge Church had 44 youth travel to the Indiana Wesleyan University along with their youth leaders. The future home of Northridge Church will be a space of worship and community to support all ages. As a member of the Northridge Building and Next Steps team, we have looked at nearly every available option in and around Waunakee, including designing our own building on vacant land, as Brent had mentioned. To continue expanding Northridge Church's reach in Waunakee and the surrounding communities, the 1071 Unique Building will allow Northridge Church to more efficiently grow and expand in an effort to reach more people and have a greater impact on the community. In summary, Northridge Church has been and will continue to be intentional about supporting the community. I'm requesting the village board to approve rezoning of the 1071 Unique Drive. I trust the village board will make a decision that best serves our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Jim Volk at 1010 Ganser Drive, Waunakee.
Hello, my name is Jim Volk. I live at 1010 Ganser Drive, Waunakee. I've been a resident in Waunakee for 17 years, and my family has been a member of Northridge Church since its inception 13 years ago. Northridge provided my family and I with the opportunity to volunteer in different capacities. and see firsthand how influential our church has been in this community. One of those events we volunteered at was Jingle Jam, a Christmas event for the community that attracts hundreds of people each year to the Village Center and offers free food and fun. For Northridge, it's not about how much money we raise to use for our own needs, but how we will use those funds to serve others in our community, just like Jesus would do. This is why this past April, Waunakee local businesses voted Northridge Church as the Community Organization of the Year. It was a testament of our church's love for this community and our intentional commitment to serve it. Personally, our church was there to support me and my 3 kids when my wife Jenny passed away unexpectedly from cardiac arrest in our home about 3 years ago. After calling 911, my next call was to my pastor at Northridge Church. He was at my house within minutes, and he prayed with my kids and I on that tragic day. Our church was there to support my family every step of the way. I truly believe that God orchestrated his never-ending love and support of our family by planting Northridge Church and using the church as a conduit to grow in our relationship with him. I hope and pray that more families will be reached by Northridge Church, just like my family did. I request with all my heart, my family's heart, and in memory of my late wife, Jenny, that the village board approve changing the zoning to institutional use. I truly believe the future of Waunakee families depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Jim?
I have no further comment cards.
Okay. Is there anyone present that wishes to make a comment that did not submit a card? Is there anyone online that wishes to speak?
Last call for raised hands online.
Okay, with that, we will close public comment at 6:42 p.m. And we will move now to board discussion. I'm gonna arbitrarily start with Nyla on the end.
Thank you. I'm glad that your church is here. You're very supportive of the community. And it's great when members of a church know that the pastor is available when needed. As a board member, I would be negligent if I didn't ask the questions I'm going to ask. Please don't take it personally, but we represent the entire community. From what I understand, at the time this area was developed, where this property is, it was part of a TID development. Is that correct?
Yes, it was part of TID 3.
Okay, thank you. So because TID 3 was developed with subsidies, it means that if the property taxes from the TID affect Waunakee, the public schools in the county, as all property does. When we build with a TID, we hope and we need to create a larger tax base. That's why a TID is created. So, my way of thinking is a church is a nonprofit that will not be creating a tax base. So that's one of the things that have been going through my mind ever since this came to the Planning Commission. It takes taxes to maintain the roads and the drainage areas and to, keep things going in a developed area. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm against this. I'm just bringing up things that we as a board need to consider when we're looking at allowing a nonprofit to be rezoned into a property that is currently area that taxes are being paid. We have had other churches in town in the past who wanted to grow or to start, and they would purchase property outside of Waunakee that was ag property that was assessed much lower. And so then the amount of taxes that were lost because of that development was considerably less than putting it into a zone such as this. So these are some of the things that the board as a whole has to look at. I'm very supportive of churches. I'm very supportive, and I'm very happy to hear about the membership at the church and everything you're doing for the community. A few years ago, my husband was a recipient of a gas card, and it was a wonderful surprise. So thank you. Like I said, this is not an easy decision, and I just wanted to let you know that there's many things to think about when trying to come to some conclusions pertaining to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Nyla. I'll shoot across over to Joe next.
I don't have any questions. And some great points that Nyla brought up. The only thing that comes to mind is if Northridge goes here, yes, those taxes go away. If Northridge purchases new property, potentially within the village, then that transitions to reduce the taxes. If they go outside of the village, I don't know what that does to, the engagement and the connection to the village.
Part of my comment pertains to the fact that this is in a previous TID development.
Yeah.
That receive TID subsidies, which when we do a TID, it's supposed to raise the tax base. There are other areas of town where there have been nonprofits are not in TID districts. So that's one consideration we should be considering.
Sure. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Trisha.
I think we had a good discussion at Planning Commission about this project and the use. And I think, given the fact that the TID has closed and it achieved the goals that it was supposed to, I think it kind of puts this back to a level playing field. And I appreciate the presentation and showing some of those surrounding uses, because establishing, a facility such as this is not an easy task. Give the group accolades for coming up with this plan and being creative and identifying this space. I do think it's a good fit in that area, just because of the access or the proximity to the residential, the building that it is. It's not just like a heavy industrial use. It's more of a light business kind of use, more of a blend. So I think the bigger picture and what this brings to the community, what this gives to that congregation, to that church community is, in my opinion, more important in this particular request. So I'm supportive of this.
Thank you, Trisha. Sam.
First of all, Nyla, I appreciate your comments. However, I would say in regards to the three churches that you mentioned, they have ended up in the village anyway. And what does that happen? They have their own septic and so forth, and it becomes messy. And I would also say them buying this building in a TIF that is closed, all the vacant land that we have in the village, basically, that would be appropriate for this use is in a TID right now. And what that means is, all right, you take that property off the tax rolls. What does that mean? It probably means because it's not paying taxes into that TIF district, it's probably going to take longer for that district to close. So I'm much more comfortable with them doing this versus doing that. So I'll be supporting.
Thank you, Sam. Aaron?
Yeah, I'm generally in support of this. I think the area of the business and industrial park that this is in seems to complement it nicely. There's daycare centers, the school district has their offices there. You also have the fact that it's probably most used on the weekends when some of these neighboring places are most likely used during the week. So hopefully that creates maybe like less traffic and parking. I think that's my biggest concern, or just, I hope we keep it on a radar that as you grow and if you have bigger events, just that if there are parking worries or just however we can keep pedestrians safe in that area, if we can just keep working with the village proactively so that there are no major concerns or incidents. Yeah, I think similar institutions in town have similar neighbors, so it makes sense to me. A little bit residential, manufacturing, right next to a church, just very similar things. I think the applicant has been a good partner to the village, clearly in a decade of using our space and been a good steward of that. The passion and excitement is very tangible, and that displays to me that they will, I mean, there's clearly a lot of pride in the project and it's quite an accomplishment. So I think we can be confident that they will take great care of the property, and that will transition to their new home. So yeah, congratulations on getting yourself to this point.
Kristen.
Yeah, thank you. When this first came before tech staff, Nyla, I had a lot of the same questions that you had. It's in the former TID district. It would be coming off the tax rolls. And so I thought long about, what do we benefit as a village from having, a vibrant congregation that remains within our borders. I think Sam's point is excellent that the other available land that could be used for development of a church is also in a TID district. I don't think the amount of money coming off the tax rolls from the village perspective, it's about $11,400 a year, is a strong consideration in possibly voting no or abstaining from this vote. I am in support of it. The group that came forward during the Plan Commission talked a lot about the community benefits, the programs they offer to the general community, not just their membership. So I'll be in support of this.
Thank you, Kristen. And I will speak last. I largely agree with the comments that they're going to set up a church somewhere within the village. We're going to lose the tax from that either way. And honestly, I agree with Kristen's statement. I looked up how much it was paying, and I think that it's a reasonable change to the tax base. I did have some concerns, kind of a little bit the opposite of Aaron on the parking issue. So my concern is with the increase in parking, since there's a water retention pond right behind it. Is this not the appropriate time to talk about that, since this is really just about changing the zoning, not about the actual site plan?
I see Brian jumped into.
Yeah, Robert, I would say that the village will, if this is approved, the village will have the ability as part of the site plan process and a conditional use permit process to address issues like the one that you just raised, like parking.
Perfect. Then I will cut those comments. I'm supportive of this. I'll end with there. So with that, any other discussion on the topic?
I would like to make a motion. I'll move to approve that the development regulations for the general development plan of the Waunakee Business Park be amended to allow phase 2A conditional uses to include those uses allowed as conditional uses in the O1, O2, and O3 office districts.
Second.
Okay, motion by Joe, second by Aaron. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So Tricia say aye. Okay. Any opposed? Abstaining? Okay, the motion passes. Congratulations.
A 5-minute recess in case these folks,
Yeah,
you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like to.
We'll take a 5-minute recess to allow the room to clear. We will come back on at 7 p.m. Okay, I was incorrect about the 7 PM. I thought it would take more time. We'll resume with the agenda.
Just a quick check to make sure Trish is back with us.
Yeah, and that's my fault because I said
No,
5
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, I know. Oh, here she is.
I should be. My video just takes a second for some reason.
It's that good old Northwoods internet.
Yep, I'm in North, exactly. The up north Wi-Fi. Not awesome.
Okay, moving on to the next public hearing item. My laptop would catch up with me here. This is a public hearing and discussion action on a request to rezone property at 606 Reeve Drive from C2 Highway Commercial to C1 General Commercial. And this presenter is again Lauren.
So 606 Reeve Drive is a double frontage lot between Reeve Drive and West Main Street. It used to be, I believe, a car wash. 3 of the lots in that area are zone C1 General Commercial. This one is zone C2 Highway Commercial to support the previous use of the lot. The applicant's requesting a zoning change from C2 to C1, which would support a proposed mixed-use development project that would have lower level commercial and upper level residential, which is a conditional use under C1, but not allowed under C2. So it would conform to the zoning of neighboring lots. Staff have looked at the proposal and don't see any concern with rezoning the lot. So we do recommend the rezone from C2 to C1.
And is the applicant here?
The applicant is here, yes, if they would like to speak.
Would you like to speak? If you could just state your name really fast.
Yes, I'm Patrick Egan. I'm with One Design and Engineering. We're making this request because frankly, there's only 4 lots on that block, all of which are C1. When we look at the properties behind, adjacent to the east, adjacent to the west, we see very, the same mixed use residential construction. We feel that what we're proposing as a project fits with what is consistent in that area, and that to just make a simple zoning adjustment to what is consistent with the neighboring properties and what's on that block is a fairly reasonable request that we bring for you for consideration.
Thank you. With that, we will open the public hearing at 6:59 PM.
I have no public hearing cards.
Does anyone here wish to speak on this topic? Are there any online comments?
Somehow Joe Zitzelberger is online. I don't know if he has. That's not you. No, there's none.
Okay. Going once, going twice. Seeing that, we will close the public hearing at 6:59 PM. And with that, we will move into board discussion. I'm going to go in reverse order this time. So Kristen, you get to lead us off.
Yeah, we discussed this at Plan Commission. I am in support of it. I think that it's a good decision.
Okay. Erin?
Yeah, I'm in support of this. I think it's nice to have something different to offer for residential, and definitely fits appropriate in my mind, the surrounding properties.
Sam?
No objections whatsoever. Super standard change.
Trisha?
Yep, agreed. Same. No problems.
I think it's pretty much a slam dunk. I do have one question for the village attorney, and that is, how much can we consider the described development in determining whether we approve this particular change?
Well, I would say you probably shouldn't consider it at all from the standpoint of if this gets approved, it may end up be used for the purpose that has been identified in the application. It may not. And so I think really what you want to do is evaluate, notwithstanding any future applications or the current application, does it make sense to rezone this from C2 to C1? And I think that's where, at a staff level, we've landed at you know, this is the reason why it makes sense is it's consistent with the other zoning changes that have been made on the adjacent properties, just to bring this into C1. And then we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay, thank you. Based on that, yeah, I think it's a slam dunk to make it C1.
Right, Nyla?
Yeah, I think it just makes sense to be consistent. And I'm glad that someone's looking at doing something with the property. Thank you.
I will echo everyone's comments. I like to see zoning consistency, so I think it's good to make the block be all the same zoning. With that, would anyone like to make a motion?
Make the motion to recommend approval of the rezone application for the lot at 606 Reeve Drive from C2 Highway Commercial to C1 General Commercial.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Sam, second by Nyla. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, the motion passes.
If I can make one clarification, the motion, you read it right, but to be clear, you weren't recommending.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
That might have been the motion from the plan commission, but that was to approve. Okay.
Oh, okay, item passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item. I apologize, I'm not doing like Kristen normally does and saying where we are on the packet. We are on page 83 of the packet. This is discuss and take action on original alcohol beverage license application for, I'm gonna say this wrong, El Cuate Restaurant LLC, DBA El Cuate Restaurant.
Yes, so this is one going into the former Par Bar. It is a reserve license as we've been issuing the last few. There's nothing different. We are getting the approvals from the PD. Those have come back. We just got those back, and unless there's any questions, they'll be taking up the entire space that was highlighted on the premise map. Also, to let you guys know, I did a little research. We have 21 reserve licenses available to the village. We've issued, I think, 4 so far. I think this will be 5.
Okay. Rather than force everyone to comment on this, I'll open the floor for comments if anyone would like to speak on this.
I think Tricia has encountered a dense fog.
I was gonna say.
Witness protection or something. I don't know what's happening.
Rub the camera with a dense cloth or with a wet cloth there. No.
Yeah, really.
Oh, we tried.
Okay, absent any comments, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve granting an original alcohol beverage retail reserve license for El Cuate Restaurant LLC, agent Baymar Rugama Mesa, assuming, DBA El Cuate Restaurant located at 350 North Century Avenue for July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, upon meeting all contingencies.
Second.
Okay, motion by Joe, second by Aaron. Any discussion on the motion? No, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, abstaining? Okay, the motion carries. Moving on to the next item. This is on page 87 of the packet. Discuss and take action on ordinance amending sections of chapter 105, building regulations for a commercial plan review. And this is also back to Lauren.
So right now for commercial inspections, we can choose to have our contracted building inspectors from General Engineering Company or GEC carry out plan reviews for buildings up to 50,000 cubic feet per our code. Anything larger than that must be sent to the state for review, but oftentimes the state is incredibly backed up when it comes to their review schedules, and the waiting period can be pretty lengthy. With a possibility that they might shift it back to the municipalities in the near future. So this proposal amendment would eliminate the size limit, allowing the village to handle plan reviews for buildings of any size when it comes to commercial reviews. The cost for GEC to conduct the plan review is billed directly to the applicant, so there's no additional cost to the village, and the fees remain consistent for the applicant, regardless of approving authority. So it's not like this is going to change the fee structure for them if we move from the state to the village contractor. So the recommendations are from GEC regarding the amendment to our current ordinance, and it has been reviewed by the village attorney. So staff is recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will begin discussion, and I'm going to start to my left here with Joe.
I honestly have nothing here. I mean, I think it makes sense to make the change.
Aaron?
No, I don't have any comments.
Kristen?
No comments from me.
Sam?
None other than I hope the state follows suit.
Tricia?
Nope, this makes sense to me as well.
Okay, and Nyla?
Will we need to have additional staff to get this process accomplished?
No, we currently go through a contractor. GEC does our building inspections for us. And so they have specific commercial inspectors that come in and do those for us anyway. This is just expanding the amount that they're allowed to do.
Okay, but don't they have office staff that they work with currently? Will it take more of the office staff time to get this accomplished, or what?
No, currently a lot of office staff time is taken up with trying to coordinate with state reviews. And so this could actually cut down on staff time.
Thank you.
Okay. I myself have no additional comments. If it cuts down staff time, then it seems like a win for us. And I agree with Sam. I hope the state does the right thing. With that, since there's no motion on here, I'm going to take a stab at it since it just says start your motion in lowercase. So I'm sure that was a mistake. I would motion to approve the ordinance amending sections of chapter 105 building regulations for commercial plan review as presented. Is Brian going to yell at me for that one?
Second.
Okay. All right.
That sounded good to me.
Okay, good. Okay, motion by me, second by Kristen. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, all abstaining. Okay, motion carries. Okay, we will move on to the next item in the packet. This is on page 103. This is discuss and take action on transfer or release of funds to the Friends of the Waunakee Senior Center. And I believe I saw Cindy. Yep, there's Cindy. Yeah, yes, please. Otherwise, Kristen and Tricia can't hear you.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
Question? Okay. You saw in your packet, I put together a little history about where this money has come from. It was back in 2016 that the senior center, I received word that we had been left in someone's will in their estate. And it came as quite a surprise. This was a gentleman that we really didn't think had any funds, but he obviously did. And he left a nice portion to the senior center. The attorney said that the senior center had become his family. He had no family. And so that certainly touched our hearts. So from 2016 on to 2022, we received payments from his estate. And then along the way, we received another large amount of money when someone passed away. And these funds also came because of the care and the services that had been provided to this individual. And this money was going into an account here at Village Hall. We received some more funds you can see on that spreadsheet that I put together. And along the way, there was interest. Although not as much interest, it was not making the kind of interest that we would have liked. It was discussed that maybe it was time that we formed a Friends of the Waunakee Senior Center. And then that money could be placed into financial, so it could gain interest and grow more. The hope was, and still is, that the funds will be used to assist people in our service area. Case managers would be involved in determining, setting up an application process. And this money will just go back into helping older adults in our municipal areas that we serve. So we finally got our 501c3 last year. That was a long process. And we had our first Friends of the Senior Center group meeting. And now we're taking it to you because we are at the point where we would like that money to be transferred and be able to have it grow and do good things for older adults in our community. You can see within here, I laid out all the donations. There was also some expenses that were approved by finance. So some of the money was approved, but you can see that there's now $516,000 that we're asking that can be transferred.
I proposed to Cindy, hi Kristen, how you doing? I proposed to Cindy that we set this up kind of the same way as we set up Schumacher Farms Trust. About 15 so years ago, we took over a fund that Marcella left. It was worth about 700,000 and it's worth about 715 or 20 right now. But in the meantime, we've given 750,000 to the Friends to run their business. Although there's no guarantee of past performance going forward, I've talked to Mark McFarland and he can put at least half of this into 5% and 6% bonds and CDs, put the rest in maybe securities, and that we could probably return at least $25,000 a year that we could use to help out on some things like transportation, where we're leaving seniors stranded at the grocery stores once in a while because of shared Dane County transportation. And also, we think once we get this vehicle going, we're going to be able to encourage the people to remember us. I don't know about me, but we'll get somebody. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll start with the discussion. I'm going to go back in opposite order. So Nyla.
Actually, I would like to hear you're the banker. I would like to hear your questions and suggestions first.
That's fair. I can speak first. So I actually had an opportunity to meet with Cindy 2 months ago now, and she gave me some advance notice of this when it wasn't planned that she was going to tell me at that meeting, but I was really interested to hear about it. And they are 100% correct. There are things that they could be doing with this money that they can't do when it's locked up the way that it is now, that would allow them to have some comfortable cushion and some guaranteed returns on it. Bonds are pretty much a guaranteed return. CDs are pretty much guaranteed. We're talking unless the bank goes out of business. So it's good for them. It gives them some stability on the income and what to do with that very large and generous amount that was bequeathed to them. So I was very supportive when she told me at the time. I'm glad to see this here. I absolutely support this. I think it's the best thing that they can do because as Phil stated, there are services that are needed. It's a very underfunded social service in general. So if there's anything that we can do that helps people, they will remember us and it will allow them to look more favorably in the service. And usage is only going up of the service. So we really need to, this is prudent planning for the future, I believe.
I do have one question. Working with the fire committee, some of the funds that they've put into the bank, they've had guarantees on them.
This is not the same as a government fund.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I was thinking. Okay,
Okay, Tricia. You're on mute. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now? No, I love this. I think obviously I support it. It seems like something that makes sense. I wish all of the items that we had were as feel good as this one. So no questions or concerns at all.
Okay, Sam.
I think this is wonderful. It's certainly a testament to the wonderful work our staff does, as well as friendly patrons like Phil that you will find at the senior center. Lots of other communities have, friends groups for their senior centers, and it certainly seems appropriate that we have one.
Kristen.
Yes, I'm strongly in favor of this. I think it's a prudent plan and a strong testament to the good work that the senior services and senior center have done.
Erin.
Yeah, echoing everything rest of the board has said. I think it's such a testament to the work of the senior center staff and the community that you build there and how important that is. So I'm really thankful that we have that for our residents.
Joe?
I think this is a fantastic thing. The only thing that I've got, I just want clarification from Renee. Any impact that it would have on anything financial from the village other than you don't have to do anything with it anymore.
Right, not really an impact because the times we have used it, I think are similar times that if Cindy needed some emergency funding for something, she would then go to this friends group and put in a request like any of the seniors would. So we have never used it for anything other than needs of the senior center. And right there.
And the friends group.
We're not budgeted, we don't budget for anything for this.
And the friends group has still essentially kind of directed the usage of those funds. It's more of where that last write the check.
Well, I think that the case managers will recommend, if they have a client that needs services, they will help put forth the request to the friends group. The friends group will make the decisions as to, if they're approved or not. And then we'll disperse the funds.
Yeah. So our role has been very minor.
Yeah, we would, mostly be cut out of that at this point, but.
And I think it's a great move.
Okay.
I do have a question. I'm not sure if I'm missing this or don't have all the memory, but I guess, sorry, it's late for me. Is there in this new friends group, like, I don't know if it's a charter or something similar of if the group is dissolved, where do the funds go? Is it back to the village or?
You're gonna have to go up to the thing so that we can hear.
If I'm remembering, sometimes that's
When we
needed
had to,
for
when
the-
we filled out the paperwork to apply for the 501c3, that's part that's required within the documentation. And so the money would be used if something happened. It would go to some other services that would continue to provide older adults with help. That's written in there.
Good. And then second question is just in the motion that's recommended, it just says approve the transfer of the foresight funds, but not the other donations. Do we need to include those names?
That's probably my fault. I would probably, the way that it's worded in the staff recommendations, a little bit more generic.
Okay.
Transfer of the funds, or we could just say the donated funds or something like that. We always call it the foresight money, but there were a lot of other pieces to that. So making that more generic would be appropriate.
Well,
Do you want to make the motion?
yeah, I'll move approval of the transfer of the foresight and related funds as discussed to the Friends of Waunakee Senior Center and into the accounts with financial planning with Mark McFarland of Madison Partners.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Aaron, second by Nyla. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? Okay, with that, the item passes.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes, thank you for coming out and presenting. Moving on to the next business item, discuss and take action on proposal to renew contract with ITSG for managed information technology and services. This is going to be Jared presenting this one. I believe this is the item that was on last month's agenda that we did not address.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. So good evening. What we have here tonight is a proposal to renew our current contract with ITSG for our managed services for 1 year. And then we do have one additional thing that has changed since the last time we were here. But I'll be getting into that a little bit later. So for a little bit of background here, we've been under contract with ITSG since 2022 for a 3-year deal. The scope of that, back then, it became apparent pretty quickly that it was too narrow for what we really need. In other words, the scope of our needs is greater than what was initially entered into in the contract. And so we've been working with Kevin, who's here with us tonight, to answer any questions you have. We've worked with him the last 3 years to really navigate that, to still get done what we need to get done. But there is a recognition that that our scope is not where it needs to quite be. For example, early on when the changeover occurred from our previous vendor, we were averaging about 60 service hours per month. We are under contract for 30. And we worked with Kevin on that. We weren't being billed a whole lot more for that because, you know, when we did the scope of it before, we didn't know what we didn't know. We've made some changes since then. I've become much more directly involved with a lot of our day-to-day IT needs to help reduce our tickets and the service hours placed on ITSG. Also, kind of like a first line of defense sort of thing. Obviously, the members of the board are directly familiar with how often I email about things like phishing attempts. So we've taken on a more direct role, and I'd say we've been hovering pretty consistently now at about 45 hours per month with our services needed. So obviously there's still a 15-hour a month gap there that we're looking to fill. And so Todd and I met with Kevin in January to talk about renewal of the contract. And I think we had a very productive conversation where we went over some concerns with the scope of it. We recognize that the scope's not where it needs to be, and talked with Kevin about that and some changes that we would hope to see moving forward. And so we asked him to put together a proposal for a 1-year renewal that would address those concerns that both parties had. And then we'd bring it here for a renewal for 1 year. The reason we're looking for 1 year is because, as you no doubt noticed in the staff report and the memo, we are looking at about a 60% increase. And I think we all recognize, certainly from the staff side, and Kevin has acknowledged that, you know, when you're talking about a 60% increase, I think we don't really want to go into a 3-year contract for that. We want to give it an extra year to really test it out, make sure we got the scope right, and then address it again in a year's time. So that's the bigger part of the solution that we're proposing. The smaller part, the part that we added. So Kevin has added a staff member with his company on a part-time basis for now, and my understanding is potentially looking at additional hours later on in 2025. But this person would be dedicated more, would focus primarily on the Village of Waunakee's account. And we want that person to get going on that as soon as possible, so as early as August of this year. But in order to make that viable for Kevin and ITSG, we need to kick in a little bit more. And so we are asking for an additional $1,200 a month for the remainder of 2024 to cover that additional expense. And I do want to emphasize that the proposal for 2025 already captures that. That was part of what we asked, was for an additional staff member. He was just able to get someone earlier, which I do think will actually is good for us, not only for more service hours, but it'll give us a larger sample size to judge the scope of the contract with. And so that's what we're asking for here tonight. We do have for the 2024 service hours, we do have about $9,900 in ARPA funds remaining that were earmarked for IT and cybersecurity. So we're proposing using those monies for the 2024 additional cost, and then the additional proposed cost would be in the budget you would see for 2025. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Like I said, Kevin's also here to answer any questions if you have more technically focused ones.
Before we get into questions, Kevin, was there anything you wanted to say, or?
No, I think Jared made a good summation of where we are.
Okay.
I'm here now.
Our cameras were literally shaking.
So I intentionally saw this was coming up, and I made sure that Joe was going to be first on this topic because I think we're all going to be looking to him. So
Mr. Zisselberger, please take it away.
I have no questions. No, no, I've actually met with, Jared and Todd, and we've been through a whole lot of different things. I had numerous questions, that Kevin did a fantastic job of addressing. The only thing really that, still sticks out to me in this entire thing is, I think, probably fairly minor, but potentially something for the lawyers to figure out. And it's in section 7 under force majeure. There is a number of things that are listed, and one of them is acts of terrorism. And it occurred to me that in the world we live in now, acts of terrorism could also include cyber terrorism, and that could be something that is directed upon the village. It could be something that's directed upon ITSG. And Kevin certainly addressed from the ITSG standpoint, they're redundant in so many ways. I'm not particularly concerned there, but what I guess my ultimate concern would be if we are the victim of something of that nature, that paragraph sort of leaves me wondering if there would be the ability for ITSG to say, you know, that's a terrorism thing, and for whatever reason, we want, you know, that to work its way out before we step in and do something. So that's, I can't imagine that scenario actually playing out.
I could probably help with that. I was just thinking about it after we talked.
Yeah.
That's, or unless Brian wants to talk first.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, Joe, I don't think that would be the case. The force majeure language, and that really kind of gets to the last sentence. Force majeure there is just essentially, it doesn't change the obligations of the parties and the services that they're going to perform, whether it's this type of an agreement or let's say a public construction contract. It just acknowledges that if that occurs, what we anticipated get it done within a certain time period may take a little bit longer. But the ultimate services that need to be performed still need to be performed.
Sure, which I think that makes very good sense. The only concern that I'm left with is, you know, that attack is going on and it's, you know, hey, we want to hold off and wait for it to subside or whatever. It's that sort of a thing. And
If I can.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. One is, it would be really bad business on my side to walk away from you in your most dire straits.
Absolutely. And I have no
Probably will
expectation to
never
do
get a
that.
municipality again in
Yeah.
the length of our business. Two, because you are a municipality, even if you were a private company, there are certain things that get kicked into during cyber terrorism. You would have to report to the state level. If it was the police department, CJIS would get involved or be part of the response. Depending on the severity of the attack, the federal government may be involved, and we're obligated to work with all of them. Now, what may happen is they may slow us down, because I've been in situations where they actually evidence taped all the server room and said, you can't go in until we're done. But we're not gonna walk away, and anything I gotta work with Brian on to make sure that that's addressed, we'll definitely take care of.
Yeah, so that was the only remaining thought that I had. I'm comfortable with the language the way it is. I'm confident in your abilities and your commitment and all of that sort of thing. Just to give people a little bit of an idea as to some of the other things that we had talked about here. Let me find this. One of the questions that I had asked about was there's an annual security audit in here, and the response that Kevin gave was so phenomenal to this. Literally talked about when they first started working with the village, where we were at, a long list of things that have been done, improvements that have been made, where we're at as of, I believe it was January of this year. So the stuff we've got going on here is fantastic. I see absolutely no reason not to go forward with approving this for the next year.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I'm glad you went first, because I don't think Aaron.
No major questions. Thankful for your services and your work on this, Jared. can barely operate a tablet sometimes, so, but I appreciate that. A lot of the issues have been worked out, and this will be more appropriate for everyone involved. So I can barely work a tablet, so I really admire what you can do is what I meant by that.
We're here.
Smart.
Kristen,
No questions. I talked this over with Todd. I think this is a sensible move.
Sam,
No questions.
Tricia.
No
No.
questions.
Okay, Nyla?
I think it's great to continue working with you whenever I've needed assistance. If Jared couldn't help me, you've helped me. I've appreciated it. And we need to do everything we can as a municipality to have our systems secure. Thank you.
I have one question, maybe more for staff. Do we have to carry cybersecurity insurance as a municipality?
Our policy automatically has a little bit.
Okay.
But there's like our policy that we have with the league has a bit in there just automatically. There's no other requirement to have a certain level
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
Do you know, does it cover ransomware, or they might call it like cyber extortion events or things like that?
You had kind of looked at our policy. It's not very robust. I think that we talked about, or you had talked about, maybe we need to look at that a little more closely.
Jared wants
Or
to.
Jared.
So to add on to that a little bit, we do have our basic cybersecurity policy through the league's policy, but it is considered best practice to get an additional policy, and I think that's something that we want to look into. But in order to do that, we needed to get a lot of these things into place, which we have not. Well, I don't know how much I should really say in open meeting.
No, you should, but I get what you're saying, because they don't want to insure you if you're not doing the right
Correct.
things.
We needed to enhance and want to continue to enhance our security, such that we should. I think we need to maybe have a conversation about additional insurance.
Okay, that's fair. I just, when we were having all this discussion, that was what I wanted to think of, and yes.
Well, so one of the things that I forgot to put in my response was that once all the tools that are currently being implemented are done, our organization will offer cyber insurance once all of those tools are in place. It's not through us, it's underwritten by somebody else, but they have already looked at the cybersecurity stack that we provide and the processes and said, okay, if that's in place, here's the available policies that you can choose from as an option.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to back into that being sensitive too. I don't want to in public, talk about that. So thank you everybody for that. Any other conversations on this topic? Sorry?
Did you call Tricia?
Yeah, I called her.
No, then I'll make a motion to approve a monthly increase of $1,200 for 2024 managed IT services with ITSG, and to renew the contract for managed IT services with ITSG for 2025 in the amount of $10,978 per month as presented.
I'll second it.
Really fast question that I just realized I was looking at the term and termination because of when we set the budget for the year. It's 90 days prior to January 1st. Is that going to be a problem budget wise, like for if we had to give notice, if we changed in the future?
No, so that brings us out to, I want to say, like September 30th or so, or if just quick math. Typically with something like this, you would have this before you in like around April.
Okay.
And then if for some reason, let's say come April, you said, you know what, we're happy with the services, but you know what, just as part of doing our due diligence, we do want to go to RFP just to test the waters. That would still give us enough time to do that and have something in place prior to that, the 90-day window. So that is something that we're aware of, and that's why you would see well, no matter what, you'll see something around April next year.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to the, yes, I hear thunder.
Keep that
Tell me
bag
to-
dry, Kevin.
Tell me to move along here. Moving on to the next business item, discuss and take action on a on consultant services RFP, on a consultant services RFP for the Sustainable Waunakee Ad Hoc Committee. And this is to Lauren.
Yep. So the Sustainable Waunakee Ad Hoc Committee was created, as we know, in February. So it was not included in any of the budget considerations for the year. One of their tasks is to create a sustainability plan for the village. And in general, there are two options to do this. One is to create the plan internally at regularly scheduled meetings using the expertise of the group. The other option is a recommendation to village board to hire a consultant through the issuance of an RFP. Plans around Dane County have been done either way. I would say the kind of the downside to doing it completely internally is it does put a lot of time and responsibility on staff as well as on the committee to get things done and get it done in a timely manner, because this is a time limited committee. So we're asking to issue an RFP at this time, that even if we do decide to go the internal route, we have the option to not approve any of the proposals. But this way we have the RFP out, we get these proposals, we can review them and score them, and we're not really wasting any of the limited time that this committee has. So even if we do decide to go internally, we're going ahead with this RFP, just to make sure that we're doing the best we can with the limited time that there is. The estimated price for it will be about $25,000 to $30,000, but it won't be completely apparent until we get these proposals in. But it's something that we would, if the committee decided to go through with one of the proposals, we would put it in next year's budget.
Okay. We're getting discussion. We'll start with Nyla.
Being part of the Sustainability Committee, we discussed this at length and the committee voted to approve this. So I hope the board moves forward with it.
Tricia?
My only question, I've agree that it makes the most sense to go out and seek a professional consultant just based on the quality and the expertise and the input that you want to have, or we want to have in this. My only question is on the timeline. I just knowing with vacations in summer, that might be a little bit aggressive. So maybe you want to think about pushing it out a week or two, just kind of shifting that due date. But it's my only feedback.
Sam?
I don't have any questions. I think it looks great.
Kristen?
I want to thank Lauren and the committee for putting the RFP together and working on it. I'm fully in support of it.
Erin?
Yeah, I'm in support of this and appreciate the work of the committee. I reiterate what Tricia said. Just if we need more time, I don't think a week or two would hurt this to make sure we have something of quality proposals, I guess.
Joe?
I think it's fantastic. Particularly the line in the summary sheet that says this does not guarantee that a consultant will be hired. I think is very important to keep in mind. We're looking for proposals. It's possible we may look at them and go, none of these really hit what we're looking for. We may get a half dozen back that are all phenomenal and we have a horrendous time trying to choose. Any part of that spectrum is possible. So this is where we start.
And I will add really quickly, sorry, we were intentionally aggressive on the timeline to make sure that we could get everything in place before the winter holidays. So keeping in mind that there are a lot of, summer vacations and things that are coming up, especially right before the start of the school year, we wanted to make sure that we have everything in place to start as early as possible.
I wanted to expand, and this might be a reading comprehension fail for me, but so the order would be when this comes in the beginning of August, then it would go to an internal review process. And then would you present it to the Sustainable Committee first before it comes back to the village
Yes.
board? Okay. So I kind of agree with Tricia a little bit, unless you really need a lot of time to do the review. Would you consider adding in like an extra week on the back end of that, or does that make it too much of a time crunch? Because the Sustainable Committee doesn't meet till usually after the second village board meeting of the month. So I'm just trying to think of like, we wouldn't see it till September at the earliest. So what, do you get where I'm kind of going with that?
Yeah. So I did try to set it up based on village board schedules. But if we did end up adding an extra week after the Sustainable Waunakee Ad Hoc Committee, this is, if you want to make changes to this, feel free to, recommend where you think some extra time would be beneficial. So maybe if we brought it at the middle, the second meeting in September instead of the first one, or
Oh, no, I wasn't saying that we should bring it at the second September. I'm saying if it comes in on August 2nd, as opposed to like August 9th, would that not leave staff with enough time to review it before it goes back to the Sustainable Committee?
probably not, no.
Okay,
Because staff would also be potentially be doing interviews.
Okay,
And those interviews would take place before the Sustainable Committee.
I understand now. Okay, any other comments from the board? That we can entertain a motion?
Motion to issue the request for proposals for consultant services to create a Village of Waunakee sustainability plan.
I'll second that. Okay, motion by Sam, second by me. All those in favor, I'm sorry, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed or abstaining? Okay, motion carries. All right, moving into the next item. This is discuss and take action on possible acquisition of property at 205 South Klein Drive, the former Waunakee property. Before I read the full motion, because I have a feeling we're going to want to go into closed session here. Is there anything that needs to be said in open session?
Yeah, I might just note that what we're going to be discussing is strategies related to how we may want to approach a purchase. What we're not discussing and not taking action on today is a purchase itself. To be clear, and mostly for the public who might be watching, a purchase of any property by the village is very, very much a policy decision, one that must occur in open session. What would occur in closed session is discussion about how we might strategically approach a purchase. So I want to be clear with the public, really, that's what's going to be occurring in closed session with the village staff and the village attorney and our environmental consultant who's going to be joining us. I want to note just procedurally, if the board does approve to go into closed session, we'll be ending this Zoom meeting. And so the public is aware there's no expectation of action after closed session. And then the minutes will reflect the outcome of the village's meeting. I'd also note that those who are participating in the closed session have been already by Zoom, which is Brian, our two board members who are on Zoom, and then also Scott Wilson, our environmental consultant. They already have a separate confidential Zoom link that they'll be jumping to, and we'll bring them back into the meeting after we close the public Zoom.
Okay, thank you, Todd. With that, I'll read the language.
I'd add if Brian had another.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, what would be discussed in closed session would be, I mean, a little bit more specific than strategy. I would say potential terms and conditions, but wanted to reiterate what Todd said. I don't think I can't imagine any formal action is going to be taken tonight. And if the village would ultimately decide that it wants to pursue acquisition of the property with, whether it's an offer to purchase or option to purchase, the terms and conditions that we would discuss can certainly be discussed in closed session, but the policy discussion about whether or not to acquire the property would certainly have to occur at a future board meeting in open session.
Very good. Okay, Now the reading of the language. The village board may convene a closed session as authorized by Wisconsin statute 1985, section 1, subsection E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Village board may reconvene in open session and discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Sam, second by Joe, and roll call vote, please.
Kristen Rungy,
Yes.
Sam Kaufman.
Yes.
Nyla Fry,
Yes.
Trisha Brown,
Yes.
Aaron
Yes.
Moran, Joseph Sperger, and Robert McPherson.
Yes. With that, we are in closed session at 7:46 PM.